Hey guys, welcome back to my Revelation series. I do want to preface this by saying if you haven't seen any of my other videos, go ahead and watch the other videos. There's a lot of info to go through, so stick with me. So today we are talking about the Church of Pergamum. That is chapter 2, verses 12 through 17. We are talking about the state and church era, meaning the state and church merged together. That starts from 315 AD to 590 AD. So just so you can see where we are on the timeline. This is our timeline. We've gone through Ephesus, Smyrna, and now we are on Pergamos. And again, those are the dates. So this is the time when Constantine comes into power, and he literally changes the entire state of Rome, and he changes the actual religion of Rome into Christianity because he believes in Jesus. He is converted, and so he starts to implement Christianity into every part of Rome. He is the very first person who introduced Christianity into governance. He began his reign in 306, but he didn't start implementing the actual merging together of church and state until 316. So again, here is that map that I like to refer to. Pergamos is number 3, and you can see number 3 here. And I realized that we all need a visual of what the Roman Empire was, like what places in the world were ruled by the Roman Empire, and this is the whole Roman Empire right here. Remember, we're talking about this general area when we talk about the churches. It's literally right here. So something consistent that we have been talking about in this series is that every church, their name means something that's very relevant to the place, the time, the era, and the church itself. So fun fact, Pergamos means height or elevation, and that is why it's because it is sitting on top of an 800-foot hill, and it is very, very tall. This is what you would call their temple. This general area up here where there are temples is what they refer to as the seat of Satan. This is just AI, but this is kind of what it would look like if it was overlooking that background and it had temples this large. Their main temple was actually dedicated to Zeus, aka Zeus the Savior, and God rebukes them for sexual religious immorality. And what does that mean? It means that back in the day, they had temple prostitutes, meaning they used to have sex to arouse their gods so that these gods would do things for them. This practice goes all the way back to Babylonian times. As you can see here, there's always some kind of woman figure with a child. And again, that does go back to the time of Babylon. This is the set of gods for Babylon. This was the moon goddess of ancient Babylon, the wife and mother of Nimrod. The wife and mother of Nimrod, who was born December 25th. She had to have his children because his father was a Nephilim, and his father's DNA was running through his veins. She was not a god, he was a god in their eyes. He was the one with DNA that was necessary to continue the line of Nephilim. And where else do we see this mother-son combination? Everywhere. Oh, that's right. In Catholicism, where almost every, because there's many different Virgin Marys as you can see, almost every one of them is depicted holding her baby son. Not the grown man who gave his life, but the baby to represent how she is a mother. It's used to represent devotion to her son. And like I said, in the Catholic religion, you see many different versions of this Virgin Mary. And it makes you laugh because they say that they don't have deities. They say that they only believe in God, but yet they've made like 60 different versions of this woman who, yes, she is a vital part of our story and the story of our Savior, but she was not God. As a matter of fact, in Miami, where there are many, many Hispanics who believe themselves to be Catholics, there is a church on the water right off the ocean. Right behind these cars here, that's the ocean back there. If you were to go to the back of this church, it would be the entire open Atlantic Ocean. The first thing that you see when you walk into this Catholic church is not Jesus, that they love to depict Jesus bloodied, battered, and bruised, hanging up on a cross in front of you. But no, not Jesus. It's this. It's the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus, and then a bunch of Cuban leaders and people. This is a depiction of the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus. This is Jose Martin, who was a Cuban founder. So basically, they've dedicated this church to Cubans. Oh, and what's in this little box here at the bottom? I'll show you. This. This is what is inside that little box. It's a doll of what's supposed to be the Virgin Mary holding baby Jesus, and she's covered in gold. She's no bigger than my forearm. No bigger than my forearm, but she is a deity, and she is at the very center of this church. Here's a better look of their depiction. Her name is La Virgen de la Caridad, which means the Virgin of the Caridad, which I believe is some kind of sea. They believe that she protects the people of Cuba because these three sailors that you see at the bottom of the statue were lost at sea and scared and terrified, and they were praying, as you can see the one in the middle praying, and she appeared on a giant wooden block. There was just a giant wooden block in the middle of the sea, and they saw it and they said it was the Virgin Mary, and they prayed to her, and she saved their lives. The funny thing about all that is that in Cuba, they practice Santeria and they worship these two gods or goddesses of water, fertility, and the ocean and river. And look who comes up when you look up one of these goddesses' names. Hmm, suspicious. But I digress. I go back to the fact that this is what God is talking about when he says religious sexual immorality. He is talking about the physical church of Pergamum because they do all of those things, but he is talking to this period in time. He is talking to the church of Pergamum that is part of the church and state. They became a mixture of Christianity and idolatry. He says he will kill them with his double-edged sword. What sword he's talking about is the sword that he's going to take out of his mouth at the end times at the Battle of Armageddon. The sword is the truth, his word. His reward to them who are able to persevere and be saved in those times of peril, he will keep them. He will give them spiritual food, manna, like he did for the Jews when they were out in the desert. And he will cast white stones, meaning back in those days when you were accused of a crime, they would throw black or white stones, meaning black meaning you were guilty of what they were charging you for, and white meaning you were innocent. And we can see that the Catholic Church is going to take a huge role in the end times because there's so much going on with the Pope right now, and he is the last Pope in the prophecy of the popes. Um, so it begs the question, will they really be the Scarlet Woman from chapter 12? And I believe they will be.